All right, real quick before we start, if Atlantis sank,
Okay, I like where this is going.
how do we know it didn't just adapt?
Well, they did. They did. 100%.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Yeah. An entire advanced civilization sinking and they just died? No, they found a way around that.
Yeah, and we're up here struggling with trying to figure out our Wi-Fi shit.
Yeah. They're probably watching us like dumbasses.
Look at those idiots.
Exactly.
Well, welcome to Exhumed. I'm Samantha,
I'm Lisa.
and if you haven't figured out, we're talking about Atlantis tonight. The theories, the myths, all of the things. So, if we're going to talk about Atlantis, we have to start from the beginning. Like the only real source that we have, Plato. So, like, already this is weird because we're not starting with like ruins or evidence. We're starting with a real person.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't just a guy, he was one of like the most influential philosophers in history. He was born roughly 425 BC, and he died roughly between 348 and 347 BC. Okay, well, he was roughly anywhere from 75 to 80 years old when he died.
Okay.
He was a Greek philosopher, one of the most influential philosophers of his day, and still to today. He actually talks about Atlantis in two different works, the Timaeus and the Critias.
Okay.
He describes Atlantis as this massive island civilization beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which is basically the Straits of Gibraltar, like out in the Atlantic Ocean. According to him, Atlantis was highly advanced, extremely wealthy, built in concentric circles. So there's rings of land and then ocean and another rings of land, ocean, rings of land, and then a center.
Yeah. And then there's like channels going up through it.
Yeah, and boats were able to reach the center of it at any point in time. Just so it could enter in here, it could enter in here, and all the channels would lead to the center.
Mm-hmm.
At the very center, there was a sacred island, a massive palace complex covered in gold and silver, and there was a temple dedicated to the god of Poseidon. It was powered by a mysterious metal called Calcum.
How do you spell that?
And no, I said it exactly how it's spelled. Arichalcum. I even put it into like Google Pronounce and it's had the phonetics.
Orichalcum?
Okay, let's go with that.
Okay.
It was a blend of different metals combined, so silver, gold, iron. Don't really think it exists today. It's just one of those things that Plato said it existed, so it could be myth, could be real, but like this is where Plato actually blends myth with history.
Mm-hmm. I mean, okay, we're talking about Atlantis.
Yeah,
Nobody knows if it actually existed. There's only, I believe it existed or I don't believe it existed, so.
yeah, no, it's all pretty much just a mystery. So according to Plato, the god Poseidon fell in love with a mortal woman. They had 10 sons, and then the island was divided into 10 different kingdoms. Each son ruled a different kingdom, so to say, except for one, Atlas. He was the supreme ruler out of all the sons, so my guess is he's probably the eldest son.
Makes sense.
And that's where they think that the term Atlantis comes from. Atlas was the sun. In translation, Atlantis.
Makes sense.
But they're also thinking that Plato may have been mixing symbolism with something real. Plato describes Atlanteans as noble, just, spiritually grounded, balanced between power and morality. So essentially, like, they were the good guys at first. He says that the Atlanteans try to conquer different known worlds. They try to conquer Athens. And you know how powerful Athens is. In Greek mythology, Athens is number one.
Yeah.
Well, Athens won. Atlanteans lost the superpower of Athens. So this is also kind of where they think that it could have all been a myth, because they think that Athens could not beat Atlantis, because Atlantis is supposed to be this huge superpower, but Athens won. So it could have been Greek mythology propaganda that Plato kind of made up, more of an allegory. So in a single day and a single night, there was catastrophe. Atlantis was pretty much wiped off the map. They were flooded. Earthquakes and floods. Atlantis sinks to the bottom of the ocean. according to Plato. Historians believe Plato's story of Atlantis was an allegory, as I said, an arrogant warning to the world about powerful civilizations becoming corrupt. Then it gets wiped out. Like, that sounds very Greek, philosophical, like trying to teach a life lesson. But here's also the problem. Plato presents Atlantis like it's a real story. He even claims it came from Egyptian records. So either he lied about it or he's retelling a story of like a different civilization. But the level of detail that he has is kind of unreal because myths don't include engineering layouts, in which he does by the concentric circles, political systems with the Greek gods, like Atlas having his own island, Poseidon being one of them, and then the different resource descriptions that he has by the rare metal that I can't pronounce.
Yeah. Yeah, but at the same time, there's a lot of Greek and Roman mythology that is just so complicated that I can't keep it straight. You know, like bloodlines and families it's almost kind of like King Henry VIII and, you know, all that stuff. You can't keep it straight.
I can.
I know you can. I can't. But there is more detailed myth than we've heard. Maybe he just got very, very detailed in the myth.
Or he could have been making everything up as a story to warn civilization.
He could have.
It's very possible. But Plato also claims that all of this happened 9,000 years before his time, which would have put it at 9,600 BC, which is also way before recorded civilization. But it's recorded civilization. So again, we don't know.
Yeah.
So that's where everything starts, with Plato, Greek philosopher. All right, so for this moment, we're done with Plato. Let's move on to Edgar Cayce. You remember who he is?
Yes. He's the one that predicted that we were going to find Bimini Road, which we did. And Bimini Road is supposed to lead to Atlantis.
So before I go further on with this, I also talk about Edgar Cayce and the Bermuda Triangle. That's in two parts of our earlier episodes. So we will talk about Bermuda Triangle, and if you want to know more about that, revert back to the Bermuda Triangle. Edgar Cayce was born in 1877. He died in 1945. Whenever I say born and died, I feel rude.
Yeah, I do too, but he died in the 1940s. I feel like he lived way further back than that, like 1700s.
Okay, so when do you think Nostradamus was alive?
I don't know.
He was around roughly 1575.
Okay.
Roughly, give or take 10 years. When he
Okay,
was doing
yeah.
his thing. But Nostradamus, the way we talk about him, he could have been from the 1300s. Like, that's where our minds go. Like, so Edgar Cayce is the modern day. He wasn't a scientist. I think he actually dropped out of high school or dropped out of school when he was in his teens. I can't remember what it was. It was either like age 13 or age 14.
I do know he dropped out of school.
He wasn't an archaeologist. He was a trance psychic. He would literally lie down, go into a sleep-like state, and then answer questions about anything that someone had to ask. Health, past lives, lost civilizations. He had over 14,000 documented readings. It's believed that he had a 90% accuracy prediction rate, but to be more realistic, it could have been 45%. Okay, so a lot of his predictions have not happened yet because he passed in 1945.
Yeah.
Some of them go on 1,000 years in the same aspect that a lot of Nostradamus' predictions haven't come fact or fiction yet, true or false, because it hasn't happened yet. And that was 500 years ago.
Yeah.
At least 500 years ago. But you know how psychics are. You see all these psychics on TV. Oh, you have an aunt. Okay, I want to say 80% of the world has an aunt.
It's generalization.
Exactly. That's why they're actually bringing the number down. But I mean, hell, if he had a 45% success rate, that's pretty good considering the generalizations.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's probably better than the TV shows.
Maybe back then they didn't think about putting plants in the audience. You know how they'll call on
Exactly.
certain people, but those people are supposed to be called on. They're part of it.
Yeah. He claimed that Atlantis was real, and not just real, it was an advanced modern civilization, that energy crystals were powering the cities. There were flying machines, underwater vessels, and weapons that could destroy continents. So, not too far off of what Plato said. Plato said one thing in two different works, and then you've got this almost a 2,000-year period where Edgar Cayce is now saying something. And there really isn't a whole lot going on in between.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is Edgar Cayce doesn't describe things happening in one event. It happens in three different events. Like, the first destruction happened in 50,000 BC. It was eternal conflict and early misuse of technology. So they kind of blew themselves up. Not completely, just a little bit.
Okay. Just a little bit.
A little bit. The second destruction happened about 25,000 years later. It became more instability, and it partially collapsed Atlantis. The final destruction happened about 10,000 BC. Massive earthquakes, land mass breaking apart, entire regions sinking. Completely different what Plato said. Plato said it happened in essentially one night.
Yeah, and that's what everyone believes happened, is that it sank all in one night.
There are some theories where it says like 5 days and 4 nights. I don't fully remember. I think I might
Okay.
be mixing up biblical with everything else.
Maybe.
He also said that survivors of Atlantis went to parts of Europe, Central America, or Egypt.
Okay.
So if they sank, they went elsewhere.
They kind of scattered.
Yeah, but what's so interesting about the Egypt part is he believes that the Egyptian knowledge actually came from Atlantis, because Egypt is ancient, advanced architecture inherited probably from Atlantis. So you think of all the pyramids, you think the aliens could have helped with the pyramids.
Yeah.
There's so many different things on that. We're not gonna touch that, but everyone knows if they're interested in this stuff, there's something weird going on with Egypt.
Yeah, Egypt is very, very, very old. Very old. It would make sense if the surviving Atlanteans scattered and one of the places they went was Egypt. They could have been the ones to teach them how to build the pyramids and all that stuff, or, help them do it. Because they're supposed to be way more civilized than we even are now. So they're not far off from aliens as far as we're concerned,
I mean, who the hell knows? I wouldn't be surprised. But here's the part that people actually lose their minds over when they talk about Atlantis. Edgar Cayce predicted that parts of Atlantis would be discovered between 1968 and 1969. 1968, divers discovered what's now known as the Bimini Road.
Yeah.
And we talked about this in the Bermuda Triangle episode. There are very large rectangular stone foundations off of the island of Bimini.
Yeah, it looks like a humongous brick road. It does not look like... It looks man-made. It doesn't look like nature made that.
I don't know the actual dimensions off the top of my head, but I'm guessing from the pictures that they're probably about like 15 feet wide and 45 feet long. I don't know. But
yeah, if you look up a picture of it, you will see divers swimming over top of it, and the divers look tiny compared to these bricks. Or I'm calling them bricks. It looks like a brick road. That's how they're laid out.
But geologists say that they're a natural formation. At first glance, it looks human-made.
It does.
So, like, either Cayce made all this up with the most detailed lost civilization theories. Like, it is very detailed, everything that he said.
I mean, it can be done. It can be done. The dude who wrote Lord of the Rings, holy shit, that's detailed as hell. So it can be done.
Especially, like, he went to sleep and talked about all of these different things. And then he woke up with no knowledge of it and then picked up the Bible and read the Bible 30, 50, 100 times over. He had absolutely no knowledge of anything that he had talked about while he was asleep. While he's sleeping, he's tapping into all these different weird things. But then he wakes up and reads the Bible and believes every single thing that's in it. And those two worlds don't exactly collide. In modern day, it would be believing in science and evolution versus believing in the Bible. So you can't believe in science and evolution if you believe in the Bible. Like they clash.
I do.
But I mean,
A little bit from here, a little bit from there, put it together, maybe it makes sense.
yeah, we're all
That's how I
human.
think.
Yeah, we're all human. We don't know what's actually. I like to ask questions and understand more, not solely believe, but I like to have the idea.
Yeah.
But it's especially being born in the late 1800s. At that time, people usually fully believed in the Bible.
Yeah.
Their life revolved around it. Their life revolved around religion. And then
Yes.
he's dreaming. He's going to sleep and he's talking about all of these things. It's amazing to me.
All these things that go against everything that everyone else believes.
And probably what he believes as well.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you think we're going to get into next?
I feel like, are you going to start
all-
talking about the Atlanteans?
The theories.
Okay. I like theories. I have my own
So-
theories.
Well, we're going to get into the version that blows everything up.
Okay.
Because once you bring aliens into it,
Yep.
like at that point, Atlantis stops being a lost city. It starts looking like a cover up. As soon as you say aliens, it becomes a cover up.
Yeah. Like
Or
what?
more
Like
of-
like Atlantis was actually an alien base.
That's one theory. There's one thought that Atlanteans were actually part human. They were created by extraterrestrial or influenced genetically by them. So part human, part alien.
Well, there's a lot of people that think that we still are.
Yeah. Oh,
We're
yeah.
descendant from them.
Yeah, and there's really no way to prove or disprove that. People believe this because Atlantis is described as too advanced for its time, sudden rise, and then sudden disappearance.
Mm-hmm.
They were mythological gods interacting with humans, and the gods could have been aliens.
I mean, they did have a big statue of Poseidon.
They did. But the most popular theory is that Atlanteans were given the technology from the aliens because, like, their energy crystals, what Edgar Cayce described, that
Uh-huh.
powered up the entire island. They think that they had beam weapons, so weapons beyond mass destruction of what we have in our modern world. They had flying aircraft and communication systems. People take it seriously because ancient cultures describes gods from the sky, sudden leaps in knowledge with like architecture and astronomy, and there are similar myths across different continents. Like Atlantis, we're already talking about that. Mesoamerica, do you know what that is?
I've heard of it.
It's essentially like southern Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and parts of like Nicaragua and Costa Rica.
Okay.
So kind of like the Mayan territory.
Okay. What? There was supposed to be like a different Atlantis type thing going on there?
And no, they had their own.
Their own legend about something having to do with Atlantis?
Yeah, in the same aspect where Egypt has their own shit going on. Like there are hieroglyphics of UFOs and helicopter-shaped things on the rocks.
That's what I keep saying is all of these civilizations around the world, and they probably weren't even aware of each other's existence back then, but they're drawing the same thing and they're telling the same stories. It's because they all knew the same thing. So how can it not be real?
It doesn't make any sense to me. Other than what I'm assuming that it was all real, because why would all these civilizations have the exact same thing?
Yeah. They have the same legends, the same stories. They're drawing the same stuff. They're all seeing the same.
Yeah, the drawings on the wall might be slightly different, but when you compare our current technology to what they had drawn on the walls, it's about the exact same.
Yeah.
So there's another theory about aliens. Atlantis was actually an underwater base because it also overlaps with like the modern sightings. Atlantis didn't just sink, it became or always was an underwater base. You've got the USOs, which I hate that they changed it from UFO to USO. Unidentified. Well, I mean, it is a little bit different.
Unidentified
Unidentified.
submerged object.
Yeah. Objects have been seen entering and exiting the ocean. There are military sonar anomalies. Ocean is largely unexplored. There have been sightings of fast-moving underwater objects. There's no clear explanation of anything on sonar. No confirmed physical discoveries. Most sightings remain unexplained. And then there's also a theory that Atlantis is no longer underwater. It just left. It moved to the sky.
I mean, if you think about it, Atlantis could have been a great big spacecraft that was just resting on the water, and maybe they had the technology to take that entire continent and just fly off with it.
Well, at that point, it wasn't a continent. It was just, it was a UFO base. USO base.
Yeah. Well, they've talked about how in the Bermuda Triangle, they have found giant batteries and they couldn't figure out where they came from or what they were for. And the batteries were still working and they were giving off some kind of like electromagnetic thing, which would explain why when people fly over it or sail over it, their equipment takes a shit.
That ties into Edgar Cayce's crystal energy that the Atlantis had.
The crystal energy was actually batteries. Like it was a type of battery.
But those have never actually been found. I think.
What do you mean
No, those are theories.
I thought they actually found them.
No,
they found something because they kind of like reverse engineered it and found out that it was actually some type of battery.
You're probably thinking of the Baghdad battery.
Maybe. Okay.
But while you're talking about the Bermuda Triangle, that is also a theory. And again, we've got a 2-part episode on the Bermuda Triangle. The second one is on all the theories.
It's like our 6th and 7th episode.
Yeah, so I'm not going to get into it. If you want to know about it, go back to it. So this is where like everything goes full conspiracy is with the Bermuda Triangle. Because people start connecting Atlantis with the Bermuda Triangle.
Mm-hmm.
And why they do that is because Bimini Island is within the perimeter of the Bermuda Triangle, and it is exactly where Cayce said it was going to be.
Yeah, and the road was supposed to lead to Atlantis, so it makes sense that Atlantis. Yeah, and the Bermuda Triangle is so hard to explore because of all the currents and everything that it makes sense that it's never been found if that's where it is. I don't think it's there,
and the rocks are too symmetrical.
The rocks are too symmetrical to be made by nature.
And there are so many disappearances with ships and planes. The theory is Atlantean technology is still active underwater, which Edgar Cayce theorized it would be. There are energy fields, crystals, whatever, and it's messing with the navigation above. Like ships and planes in the Bermuda Triangle report compasses spinning, instrumental failure, pilots saying everything looks strange. But they think like Atlantis may have had a defense system or energy fields that pull objects in, disintegrate them, trap them in other dimensions. I mean, some versions actually talk about it being time warps. And again, we've talked about that before.
Yeah, the clouds.
Yeah.
The wormhole.
And, hell is it? USS Eldridge.
Okay. Which one was that again?
It time warped. It went from port to port, from like Norfolk to Philadelphia. It melted people.
Okay. Yeah, that's the one where the people were found melted to the ship, like fused into the ship. And they couldn't figure out how it got from point A to point B so fast.
Exactly.
And somewhere along the way, something messed up happened and everyone got fused to the ship.
Yeah. But people love to believe that the Bermuda Triangle and Atlantis exist together because it ties in ancient and modern day. And we love to have something ancient explain what's happening in modern day. It fuels our minds. It makes us think it's something bigger is going on versus what's actually really happening, which is probably human error.
The thing about Atlantis being in Bermuda Triangle just seems too convenient for me. Like you're telling me that whole big mystery is right here where we can get to. I think Atlantis was out in the middle of nowhere. I don't think it was anywhere near us. I think it was away from everything. And we haven't explored the ocean, like barely at all.
But what's interesting about that is both Plato and Edgar Cayce, which still, I'm not doing the math.
Yeah.
They both talked about it being in the Atlantic Ocean. And
the Atlantic Ocean's big, though.
It's not the biggest. I'm not gonna finish that sentence. But for the fact of them bringing it down to one region, one ocean, in a specific area of the ocean. I mean, it's kind of hard to dispute, But who the hell knows? The reality with the Bermuda Triangle is most of the disappearances have been explained. It was weather, human error, or even fuel issues. The area is the most heavily traveled shipping routes on Earth. Statistically, it's more dangerous than any other regions. So the amount, even though there is so much happening in the Bermuda Triangle, statistically, there is no more happening in that region of water as there is in other regions of water in the world. So
Yeah.
breaking it all down, statistically, it's the same. But I mean, what's kind of funny is like, did Atlantis take them? Or did we just make it dramatic after the fact?
Don't know. We'll never know. My theory is no matter where Atlantis was, the technology was so advanced. Their civilization was so advanced. They were more advanced than we are now, which makes me think they were here before us. Aliens have been here this whole time, way before we got here. They could have been some kind of human alien hybrid, or they could have been a completely different species of something, which makes me think if they're that advanced and they sank, they could have adapted to life underwater.
And you just led right into the next theory.
What's the next theory?
Well, you've got the tattoo.
Mermaids. Yep.
Some people like to say that Atlanteans didn't die. They
They
just
turned into
adapted.
mermaids.
And this is why people kind of connect it. Deep ocean, mostly unexplored. We've explored more into space than we have our own oceans. There has been sightings of humanoid sea creatures that exist across cultures, like hieroglyphics. There's been hieroglyphics all across the world that
Yeah,
essentially depict your tattoo.
My tattoo is actually a real cave painting. It's online.
Show
I just took
Show that again.
It's like stick figures with, instead of legs, they have fins. I took these from an actual picture of a cave painting. I just took a couple of the figures and had them tattoo it on me. All around the world where these civilizations did not have any knowledge of each other's existence, they're all drawing the same thing. Half human, half fish people.
And some legends describe intelligent underwater beings, mermaids, or aliens, that Atlantis didn't disappear. It just went deeper. But we're going to dig deeper into the mermaids. I'm not going to talk about much of it right now because in like 2 or 3 episodes, we will be talking all about mermaids.
Yeah, we're just going to dedicate an entire episode to mermaids because there's a lot to be said about it.
And we've been wanting to do this for like 2 years now, but now we're doing it. So, and now we're going to talk about another. We promised our viewers or our listeners that we weren't going to talk about religion or the Bible, but we're not exactly talking about religion in the fact of like our perspective. It's all historical. It's all what's written out there.
We're loosely translating stories that are in the Bible, and we're not saying that we believe it. We're not saying that we know a lot about religion at all.
And it's no different than us talking about Greek and Roman mythology. It's
exactly
what's out there, and we're just talking about it. So the Bible might have actually been talking about Atlantis. There are a few overlaps between the Bible, Plato, and Edgar Cayce's theory. And I'm sure by now you might have a clue on what we're talking about. Plato describes Atlantis as this powerful, advanced civilization, and then it says it was wiped out in a single day and a night of misfortune. Now we're going to talk about the story of Noah.
Yeah.
Modern civilization knows that story. It says that God looks at humanity and basically says, yeah, this is out of control. Violence, corruption.
We need a reset.
Exactly. So what does he do? He floods the entire world. Atlantis didn't just sink, it got flooded.
Maybe Atlantis was around.
But then, prior to the story of Noah, I guess as part of Genesis, the Nephilim. Right before the flood, it mentions these beings, the Nephilim. Do you know more than I do?
The stories that I've heard, okay, I'm not telling you that this is the truth. Anyone is more than welcome to correct me so that I can learn more about this because it's very interesting. The stories that I have heard is that angels rebelled against God. They wanted to mate with the humans on Earth. So they came to Earth, they mated with humans, and they made the Nephilim. It's evil to rebel against God. So they were made out of evil, so they were evil. They ate people. They drank their blood. They did all kinds of fucked up shit. And then God came along and he's like, okay, this has to stop. I need to get rid of the Nephilim. We need to start over. So he flooded the earth.
So what I have is Nephilims are unusually described as giants, but more importantly, they're tied to this idea that something not fully human was interacting with humanity. Atlantis could have been giants, or at least influenced by something given to them, something greater than what they were.
What do you mean, like the Nephilim had influence over the Atlanteans?
Yes, either they had mated together and created the Atlanteans, or the Nephilim influenced the Atlanteans on the knowledge that they should not have had.
Okay, all right.
All the advanced knowledge, could have come from that interaction. Think about it. If Atlanteans were part of that world, then when the flood happened, it didn't just destroy the people, it destroyed their cities, their knowledge, and their entire way of life.
Yeah.
A lot of historians believe that Plato completely made up Atlantis, that he created as a story, and was a warning about pride and power. You have too much pride, you have too much power, you don't need to be around.
Makes sense.
You destroy yourself, or something's going to destroy you. In the Bible's flood, that's essentially a religious narrative of the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So we could have just been smashing two different stories together because it feels similar. Both stories could have been based on something real, like massive ancient floods did happen. There's evidence that thousands of years ago, sea levels rose fast enough to wipe out entire coastal civilizations. If people survived, then they would tell stories. And over time, those stories turn into Atlantis. The flood, different versions of the same disaster. Then civilization was just reset.
So Noah and his ark and the flood and Atlantis sinking are either two completely different stories, or they could be the same story and Atlantis was just one of the things that got taken out by the biblical flood.
We could be the civilization after the reset.
I don't understand what you're saying.
We are a dumb civilization compared to what Atlantis was. So
Yeah.
The higher above said, oh no, screw you guys, we're done. You're getting too advanced. We're going to reset everything.
Yeah, you know
Start
too
back at
much.
zero.
Yeah.
So some of the other theories is hollow earth. Atlantis didn't sink, it retreated underground. That there is massive inner earth civilization. There's a hidden entrance, whether it's oceans, poles, or caves. Atlantis pretty much just moved inward to survive.
Yeah, there is a hollow earth theory. Some people call it Shambhala, some people call it Agartha, and there's all kinds of different entrances to Agartha, Shambhala, whatever you want to call it. They're all over the place. They're in the oceans. There's one supposedly in Antarctica. You can't get to them. They're all guarded by something.
Well, there's another theory that Atlantis was a psychic civilization, which that ties into what Edgar Cayce says. He predicted that they're telepathic, that they could manipulate the energy. They had more abilities than what they should have.
To me, that's aliens.
Yeah.
That's all alien technology and alien knowledge, and they were here way before we were. So,
And then
I feel like that's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah. And there's another theory. Atlantis destroyed itself with its energy. It essentially just blew itself up. And why people believe it is because advanced energy sources, they misuse weapons, cause massive change of reaction. But why that theory doesn't stick is because Plato describes it as a sudden destruction. Edgar Cayce talks about the energy misuse and in the modern lens, like ancient nuclear war.
Well, yeah. And I mean, that kind of makes sense. If they were misusing their technology and they fucked up somewhere, they could have blown the whole thing up and it just sank.
They could have been the first civilization to destroy itself. But
there would be evidence of it somewhere. No one's ever found it.
Well, there has been things that have been found, but every single thing that has been found has kind of been, it fits just right, but not enough. So like Santorini.
Santorini?
Greece. Yes.
I don't know if I'm saying it right.
No, I think you're saying it right. It's called the Eruption of Thera.
Okay.
People actually think that this could be the true Atlantis because it actually happened. It's the thing that's the most theorized is what could be Atlantis according to Plato.
The eruption of Thera?
Yes.
So it was a volcano?
Yeah. Well, it was all a real disaster. It happened around 1600 BC. It was a massive volcanic eruption, and it destroyed an island. Entire cities were buried in ash. Tsunamis wiped out surrounding areas. When archaeologists uncovered Akatri, which is a city, they found multi-story buildings, advanced plumbing, a thriving, wealthy society. They were advanced, they were seafaring, and seafaring, yes. And that lines up way too well. But why it doesn't match is it was in the wrong location. It was in the Mediterranean, not the Atlantic. And it was also smaller than Plato described. And the timelines don't match.
Okay. But what Edgar Cayce and Plato said could have been completely made up. It could have been, some of it could have been in code, although they both said it was in the Atlantic and this was found in the Mediterranean.
Hey, we have like 4 or 5 more on areas that have been found that they believe that was Atlantis.
Okay.
The Bimini Road, we talked about it earlier. It was the area that shocked everyone. In 1968, discoverers found it in the Bahamas. Large rectangular stone blocks lined up like a road, and they called it the Road to Atlantis. And it is exactly where Cayce said it would be found. It looks man-made, matches Cayce's description, and it was located in the Atlantic. Scientists say that it was a natural formation created by erosion and fracturing. So it was broken down and created naturally. Okay, so it matches Cayce's description.
Mm-hmm.
Got the third one, the Eye of Sahara.
The Eye of Sahara? Okay.
It's located in Africa. It's a massive circular formation, and it's visible from space. And it has concentric circles, which is exactly what Plato described in Atlantis.
Yeah.
Why people think that it's real is because it matches what Plato said, and it actually looks like a city blueprint. But what science says is, of course, it's a natural geological formation created by erosion over millions of years. No buildings, no artifacts, no ruins found.
I feel like we're lied to a little bit when it comes to that stuff.
I mean, we could be, but who really knows?
I feel like Atlantis is one of those things where if it really was found, we're not going to know.
No.
They're not gonna come out publicly and tell us that, at least not for a really, really long time. Nature doesn't work that way. Like, that's my feeling. Like, nature is not going to make something like Bimini Road. It's too perfect. It's too man-made looking. Atlantis, I mean, how does nature make something like that? I've seen pictures of it. How does nature make something like that? However,
We've seen pictures of what we think in our mind.
Exactly. However, nature does make stuff like that sometimes.
Exactly.
Did you ever see that fish that makes all those very ornate circular designs in the sand?
So at the same time, nature does do things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've got a couple more.
Okay.
So you want to take a guess on where the other places? There's always something weird that's going on, and we blame it on this continent.
Antarctica.
Yeah. They think that Atlantis is under the ice.
Could be.
Okay, so story time.
Okay.
Antarctica was once ice-free. A civilization could have existed before the climate shift. It didn't go underwater. It went under ice. That they just froze rapidly during the Ice Age. People believe it because ancient maps and satellite images show structure, massive unexplored land, and this one highly relies on interpretation.
Okay.
The problem with believing this is there's no verified ruins. Geological evidence supports long-term ice cover. Still, it's one of the most unexplored areas on Earth. All right, so the fifth theory, or the fifth thing that was found, was in Spain. Denonan National Park. I'm going to say that wrong. Dona. And there's that little thingy over the first N. This one came from like actual archaeological claims. The story is that researchers have claimed they have found Atlantis, as everyone says they have found Atlantis. There were circular structures under marshland, and that the city remains buried. The problem with that is, like, there's no confirmed link to Atlantis, could be unrelated in an ancient settlement. So Plato and Edgar Cayce claim that was in the Atlantic Ocean, not inland, not in marshland. But the people believe it because there's satellite imagery of the structural patterns of concentric circles and
Yeah.
all the things. But it's in marshland. Then there's Azores, Azores. I'm sorry. This one feels like the most Plato accurate. As we said, Atlantis existed in the mid-Atlantic, and the Azores is mountaintops that remained. People believe it because it's like the correct location. It was volcanic activity, and there's underwater plateaus. But again, like all the others, there's no confirmed ruins and structures haven't been found. So again, every single time someone thinks that they have found Atlantis, like it almost fits, but it doesn't.
There's not enough evidence. Like, they'll find something and they'll be like, I'm pretty sure this was at least part of Atlantis, but there's not enough evidence to say for sure.
No. So, like, let's break all this down. Give me your strongest case for Atlantis actually being real.
Well, there are disappearing islands. There are islands that will show up and then all of a sudden be gone and then all of a sudden come back. I do believe that there was an alien civilization here before we were here.
And they're probably still here.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Well, the government came out and said that they're here, so of course they're here. But who the
yeah,
hell
they've been here all along. I don't know. I mean, I don't really have a real strong argument against it not being real. I just choose to believe that it probably was. And if it is actually in the Bermuda Triangle, it would make a lot of sense.
But what's your argument against it being false?
What do you mean? Like, my
Say
argument.
if Plato just made it up and Edgar Cayce just had a dream that went back to what he remembered Plato saying, and all of it is fake. What would be your argument against that?
My argument would be, why were they both talking about the same thing? Why would Edgar Cayce predict that we would find the Bimini Road and then we actually do find it?
Within 1 year that he said, like 40 years prior.
Exactly.
Remember, Bimini Road was discovered in 1968 and he passed in 1945. There's nothing influencing like him going out, hey, look at this area. He wasn't alive for 25 years.
Yeah. But I mean, when it comes to Plato, people make up stories all the time. I mean, that's how you get some of the greatest novels. That's how you get some of the coolest movies, and their imaginations are just so wild. Like Tolkien made up entire languages. He made up that elven language. And he's got like a whole family tree of each of like the elves and the hobbits and everything. And it's so detailed. He's even got a map drawn out of what Middle Earth looks like. So I can't really say that Plato was making it up, but I can't say he wasn't either. He just probably had one of those minds that could make up crazy shit. So crazy that people are like, there's no way he made that up, you know?
Yeah, so that's also one thing that goes towards why it could be real is Plato may have actually used like Egyptian records. Real civilizations have been suddenly lost, where volcanic eruptions happen, where cities have actually sunk. I mean, in modern day, we have found that when the oceans go up and down, civilizations have been found that were previously lost. There's underwater ruins that we have found, and the oceans are still largely unexplored. But
exactly.
Going against Atlantis, like there is no archaeological proof. Plato is really the only primary source. I mean, we've got Edgar Cayce at modern times, but it's too modern to be able to prove.
Yeah.
The timelines don't match up historically, and all the discoveries turn out to be like natural formations.
Well, the timelines could have been screwed up because they changed the calendar a couple of times. I think the year 1580 something, there are like 10 days missing out of October. It just goes from the 5th to the 15th. This one dude decided that he wanted to be king in a certain year. So he's like, guess what? That's what year it is now. It fucked up
Mhm.
the whole timeline. So it could have had something to do with that. Maybe it lined up when Plato was writing it. It just doesn't line up now because time isn't the same.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Atlantis, if it was part of the world that was flooded, and we're finding little pieces of evidence now.
It is. There could be a real life event that actually did happen, and every culture and every religion of the world could talk about it differently.
Yeah, there
in
are
this
all
thi-
kinds of different versions of the same story. And what matters is that it is the same story.
exactly. So why can't it be real?
I think
Yeah,
it's still
I
out there
hope it
somewhere.
was. I'm still skeptic. I still want to know more information. I don't know. I hope it's real.
Me too. I think it would explain a lot, especially if it ends up being in the Bermuda Triangle. That's like game over. Like we know what happened to all that shit that disappeared. So whether Atlantis was real or just a warning or something that's still out there, we're probably never going to know.
Yeah, but I know one thing. If planes are disappearing over the Bermuda Triangle, I'm just saying, it has a type.
Nah, I know where you're going.
I'm just saying, if Atlantis was real and still active,
It's probably time to end this.
I'm just saying, if it's still active, somebody down there is looking up hey, I want that one.
That's so creepy. So
You shut
creepy.
me down. You're gonna shut me down now, aren't you?
Yeah.
All right. Well, stay safe, everyone. Please subscribe, comment, tell us how fucked up we are. Tell us all the things and how you agree or disagree.
Tell us all your theories.
And in 1 or 2 episodes, we're going to be talking about mermaids, and it will tie into this episode. So please watch again. Don't hate us.
Please come back.
Have a good night, and let's hope that we don't destroy ourselves like the Atlanteans did.
At least not in our lifetime. So have a good night. We'll see you next week.
See ya. Bye.